Okay, what is happening, you timid Teddy Ursa? Coming at you with some reveals from the Crimson Haze set that'll be coming out in Japan, I believe, at the end of March 22nd, I believe. So when we're getting Temple Forces, they're going to be getting a bunch of new cards again ahead of us, which kind of sucks, to be honest. We're not going to be getting these cards, I believe, until May, towards the end of May. So yeah, that's rough. We don't have Temple Forces yet, and we're already seeing cards that we're getting after Temple Forces, and we're still like a month away from Temple Forces as well. So it's kind of rough out here, I'm not going to lie. But if y'all are looking for something dope that you don't have to wait for, like this shirt I'm wearing, then you can go check it out over at, or check shirts out like this over at qualitypatchdesigns.com. They don't just have shirts, they got hats, beanies, computer mats, button downs, hoodies, you name it, they got it for Pokemon merch. The coolest thing that they do over there is they can turn any card artwork that you like into a t-shirt, and if you're the first person to get that card artwork turned into a t-shirt, they put a little first edition on your shirt there as well. So check them out, Quality Patch Designs. Link, of course, will be in the description, and you can use code AzulGG over there as well for a discount. So let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. None of these cards seem like too extreme. I don't think we're getting any new major archetypes out of any of these cards, but they're still pretty interesting cards nonetheless. We got the Blood Moon Ursaluna EX, 260 HP. It is a basic EX Pokemon, so pretty tanky for a basic. It's got that Elder's Technique ability. This Pokemon's Blood Moon attack costs one colorless less to use for each prize card your opponent has already taken. So literally the exact same ability, basically, as Radiant Charizard, but it's a colorless type Pokemon, and its attack is, or does cost, colorless energy. So you could basically put this in literally any single deck you wanted to. And then you could be hitting for the Blood Moon for 240 damage for one colorless energy after your opponent has drawn 4 prize cards. So very powerful card. Definitely going to see a lot of play. Can literally be played in any single deck you'd want it to be because of the colorless energy cost. Yeah, very good card. Going to be played in a ton of decks for sure. Not bringing any new archetypes, I don't think. No one's going to be playing like a quad Blood Moon Ursaluna EX deck because that doesn't make any sense. 5 energy for 240 damage isn't very good, but 1 energy for 240 damage is pretty solid. So not making any new archetypes out of nowhere, but it will be included in quite a few decks, that's for sure. We got the Screamtail EX, 190 HP, Sudden Shriek. This attack is actually pretty good, but it's going to be hard to set it up into your active on that first turn. For colorless energy, you can use this attack only if you go second and only during your first turn. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any supporter cards from their hand. That's pretty good. If I could go second and consistently pull this off, this would definitely be a pretty high consideration to include in a deck. But how can you consistently pull that off? You could play a lot of switch cards. Do you play multiple Screamtail EX so you don't prize it? I'm not too sure. What deck would this even be best in? Once again, not too sure. But if you could find a deck that could consistently Sudden Shriek and doesn't mind kind of losing a bench space for the rest of the game, because what would happen is you'd send the Screamtail EX into your active, you'd use Sudden Shriek, and then you'd probably retreat this back to your bench, and then it would be sitting on your bench for the rest of the game or until it gets KO'd. So yeah, I don't know about that. It's like, I mean, if you could just say your opponent can't use supporters on their next turn, that'd be a really, really good effect, right? So can we make this thing consistently do that? I'm not sure, but it definitely seems like there could be some potential, and it'd be really annoying to play up against as well. And then the other attack is kind of whatever. Psychic Double Colors for 120, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. That's kind of whatever. It's really all about that Sudden Shriek, to be honest. I just don't know if we can consistently utilize it. I did say there's probably no new archetypes coming out of these cards revealed, but I take that back because I forgot about the Iron Thorns EX. This card is really good. 230 HP. The ability, when this Pokemon is in the active spot, Pokemon with a rule box in play, except any future Pokemon, don't have any abilities. That's pretty good. That shuts down stuff like Starbirth, Guardi EX's ability, and all it has to be is in the active spot, and it has a decent attack as well. For Lightning Double Colors, you do 140, move one energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. So you're doing 140, you're putting on some pressure, you're conserving energy, get some Iron Crowns involved, you can hit a little bit harder. This card definitely seems pretty good. I guess like the big deck this could go up against to slow them down as well would be the Charizard. Like you get like a turn 1 attack with this thing against Charizard. It's lightning type as well, so it works with like an electric generator. Like, yeah, this card's got a lot of potential, to be honest. This thing is gonna be pretty good, and this might be like the missing piece to make Future Box actually a deck. Like right now, Future Box seems okay. So most recently at the Champions League, that we saw a Future deck do well, but it was kind of more just like a Future Hands deck. It wasn't really a Future Box deck. It had a bunch of Future cards in there, but it was all centered around just attacking with Iron Hands over and over again. No real box aspects to the deck really at all, to be honest. But the Iron Thorns EX might change that up, because this will definitely give you a stronger matchup against something like the Charizard EX, like maybe the Gardevoir EX if it becomes popular again. Even slowing down stuff like Arceus decks and taking away their Starbirth is pretty good. 230 HP can be tough to get over in the early game as well, and you are putting on some pressure. It's not like we're leaving this in the active. It's not like a Klefki or a Flutter Mane where we're really not doing too much as far as putting on pressure and drawing prize cards goes while we're slowing down our opponent. This thing kind of does it all. It stops the abilities, it slows them down, and it's taking prize cards, conserving energy at the same time, and it's got 4 retreat costs. So the heavy baton, or whatever it's called, the baton card, works with it as well. You can put a baton on here, they knock it out, and now we're swinging back or clapping back with an Iron Hands or something. So yeah, Iron Thorns. I said there wasn't really any new archetypes coming out of these cards, but I take that back. I think the Iron Thorns does do that. Go ahead and switch, pass through the apples here. Nothing crazy there. We can actually pass the Parent as well. Not going to read it. It's garbage. Enhanced Hammer is back. Discard special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Hey, this can be pretty good against Arceus decks. Also pretty good against Lugia decks. Now, Lugia does play a lot of special energy, and you can't remove all of them. You can only play 4 Enhanced Hammer, but the key here will be removing that gift energy and then knocking them out while comboing that with an Iono to disrupt them. But previously or currently, it would be really hard to disrupt Lugia decks because they would have a gift energy on their main attacker. So if you want to be able to remove their threat from play in that main attacker, you would also have to be giving them draw power through the gift energy. So you couldn't ever really disrupt Lugia, or it's very difficult to disrupt Lugia with stuff like Iono. But now you can combo that with an Enhanced Hammer as like a 1 of or 2 of included in your deck, and you can actually make comebacks against Lugia a little bit better with the Enhanced Hammer. And that might be a big deal moving forward as we get more special energy. This might even be like kind of them telling us, hey, we're giving you Enhanced Hammer, but that's because it's coming with a lot of really powerful special energy, especially like something like a future or an ancient special energy is something I wouldn't be surprised to see come out eventually. But currently, for what we're looking at right now, like I said, Arceus, probably pretty good against Arceus, removing those double turbos, and then probably going to be pretty powerful up against the Lugia deck as well. The other decks in the format, I'm trying to think of what else we got going on right now. Doesn't seem too good, but if we look at that, the Iron Hands deck, the future Iron Hands deck that did really well in the Japan Championships, that was playing gift energy as well, so it'd be theoretically really powerful up against that deck as well. Stadium card, I will read the Stadium card once during each player's turn. If that player has already played a supporter from their hand, they may heal 20 damage from each of their Pokemon. It's a little bit of an interesting supporter because it doesn't trigger right when you play a supporter. It triggers whenever you want to activate it, and if you have played a supporter, you heal 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. At least that's how I'm reading this. Once during each player's turn, if that player has played a supporter from their hand, they may heal 10 damage from each of their Pokemon. It's not when each player plays a supporter from their hand, they may heal 10 damage from each of their Pokemon. It's you can use it at any point during the turn, and if you've played a supporter before you use it, then you can heal 10 from each of your Pokemon, which could be interesting to combo in like a Gardevoir deck, I guess, because you could like play Iono or play Research before you put energy in play and then heal with the Community Center, and then you could kind of utilize Gardevoir EX and then heal with Community Center afterwards. So definitely interesting. Not a very powerful stadium by any means, but it has like a cool effect. It's interesting that is how you can sequence it, where you like utilize it after you've played Research or something like that. It's very interesting. We don't usually see stuff like that worded in Pokemon, so that definitely stands out to me here as being an interesting take. Got the Lucky Helmet back. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, even if it's knocked out, you draw 2 cards. Pretty bad tool card. We only ever saw it get used in Gyarados, I think, and that's because Gyarados had a ancient trait that said you could put 2 tool cards on it, and that's what made the Gyarados good for the most part. So you could put 2 Lucky Helmets on it, utilize that as like some form of draw power. Yeah, not a very good tool card. I don't expect a ton of play of it. And we get to the broken card, the Unfair card. Is it too good? Is it too toxic? Will it be banned? I'm not sure. The Unfair Stamp. You can play this card only if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. So your opponent does have some control over when this card can be used, but are you really going to sit there forever and not draw any prize cards? Especially potentially giving your opponent the advantage and the edge in the prize exchange by letting them draw the first prize card? I don't know. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, then you draw 5 cards and your opponent draws 2 cards. So let's say you go first. Set up some Pokemon, pass to your opponent. Your opponent goes, okay, knock out your active Pokemon, you know, draw a prize card. And then you go, okay, cool. Candy, Charizard, Unfair Stamp. And then you knock out their active Pokemon. They don't have a Pokemon, another attacker set up in play yet, and they have 2 cards in their hand. That sounds pretty good. This will definitely be very, very powerful up against aggressive decks, but I could even see it being very, very powerful up against slower decks in the format, and is going to make you question early on whether or not you want to take a knockout. This will also increase the potential power of playing a deck that has something like a B-Barrel in it, or waiting an extra turn to establish your B-Barrel before you go to take a knockout. Now, it is just a one-of, and it is an A-Spec. It is an item card, though, of course, so you can play it alongside a supporter. You can play Research. You can play Arvin to go find this. You can play Irida to go find this. And that's kind of like the more scary part about this card, is you can find this card really easily through supporter cards, or even have more powerful of turns. Like, imagine you take a knockout and your opponent goes Unfair Stamp, Counter Catcher, Research, or the Irida to find, or excuse me, Arvin to find one of those pieces to put that whole combo together. That's kind of the scary part of this card. I don't think it'll be too broken. You'll just have to be a little bit more mindful and thoughtful against certain matchups that probably will be playing this card, against decks that'll probably be playing this card, about when you want to take that first knockout. And when you're playing like slower decks in general, something like a Charizard B-Barrel, or maybe even like a Gardevoir deck, you might want to wait one more turn before you take that first knockout, especially if you know your deck has a ton of comeback potential, or maybe you just wait to play your Unfair Stamp first to try and get ahead against your opponent. And this could go a little bit further than that as well. You could combo this with disruption cards like Eerie, or the Pokemon Grab, or is it called Grabber? Is it just called Grabber? Is the card literally just called Grabber? I feel like it's called Pokemon Grabber? Dude, off the top of my head, I don't remember. But combo this with Grabber, or Eerie, or Arbok EX, and you can even potentially limit them further going into their next turn. The big play that I see comboed with this is Counter Catcher, though. Unfair Stamp, and then either knock out their active if it's their only relevant threat in play, or, you know, Counter Catcher their B-Barrel and take that out of play as well. I don't know, maybe we're gonna get to the board states where we have to wait till we set up like 2 or 3 B-Barrel before we start attacking. That'd be a little bit crazy. But yeah, I think a really good card, really good A-Spec. It's really good to see another really, really powerful A-Spec. I actually don't think this card will be too toxic or too broken. You just need to learn how to play around it. I'm sure a lot of less experienced players will get caught off guard by this card initially, but once you learn how to play against it a little bit better and adjust your play, I think everyone will be just fine with this. And it's really good to see an A-Spec seem to almost rival Prime Catcher in terms of power, or at the very least, this card will definitely shape the meta moving forward and how people actually approach playing games of Pokemon in a positive way, I think, overall. So I'm excited for Unfair Stamp. I think it'll be a really healthy card for the game overall. And yeah, I can't wait for this set. We're still waiting. We don't even have Temporal Forces yet. This isn't coming out until May. We're so far away from this card, but I'm excited for it. Also really excited to see what other A-Specs they can come up with, because I think this one is pretty creative. Prime Catcher, not quite as creative. A very powerful card, of course, but they seem to have some creativity behind their ideas with this one, and I can't wait to see what other A-Specs they actually come up with now that we've seen the Unfair Stamp, because this is not something I would have thought of to be a card to be printed, to be honest. So yeah, super excited for what else they come out with in this set, and just kind of A-Specs in general moving forward. All right, if you guys enjoyed the video, as always, you know, leave a comment, let me know which of these cards you are most excited for. Do you think Unfair Stamp will be too good, or do you think it's on pace to just be a solid card that is just gonna, you know, propel the game to being fun and enjoyable, yada yada? Are you excited for Enhanced Hammer coming out? Yeah, excited for Enhanced Hammer. Are you unexcited for Iron Thorns? Did you not like Ability Lock? We kind of knew, I feel like we just kind of knew that Ability Lock would be coming back in some form at some point, and it's coming out pretty quickly here with the Iron Thorns. We might see more than just Iron Thorns as far as ability control goes, and I really enjoyed Paths of the Peak actually in general, and how it shaped the game, and shaped and formed how the game was played, to be honest. So actually, if I could have actually ever picked a card to be reprinted, I think Paths of the Peak being reprinted would probably be like the only card I ever really cared about being reprinted. I would definitely not have hated to see Paths of the Peak reprinted, but so far it hasn't been. I guess it still could be, but I would almost rather see other forms of ability control come out to do something new and something fresh, and I think that's probably what we're going to see, and we already see that coming out a little bit with the Iron Thorns. But yeah, let me know what you think about these reveals, and I will catch y'all in the next video.